Welcome to Chalk Talk, where we talk stocks with you and me and you and you and me. Welcome back to everyone who's new. Welcome back to everyone who's been here, and welcome for everyone's new. And I am on a running streak with messing up the intro. Anyway, how's it going?
Always the awkward intros. Welcome back to another episode of Chalk Talk.
Welcome.
Today's episode is about Apple.
Apple. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. That's what they say.
Keep that awkwardness going on streak. Anyway, yep. Ticker symbol AAPL. It's an Apple update. We got a lot of news going on with Apple. Well, that's always news with the world's how should I put this? The world's most talked about company, maybe I'd say, in my opinion, and the big market.
Yeah, leader of the market.
Yes, indeed. But yeah, our last episode was 25. Episode 25. If you haven't watched that episode, check it out. But anywho, that was on November 3rd. So yeah, the stock has been somewhat volatile, but in a good way, I guess, if you're an Apple holder. Stock has pretty much been on an uptrend since the summertime. Since we were seeing those 52-week lows, well, as we know them to be, I guess I should say.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, since late July, stock's been on an uptrend. In our last episode was right after earnings, and the very underwhelming Apple earnings. We saw the stock sell off. It had a little bit of a pre earnings pop. It the stock saw 189.73, and then a bit of a sell off. Actually, two sell offs. Another one right before, down to 165.03, and then the one that we talked about in that last episode, after hours, the stock went crazy. It's a little pop from those 160s to 181, and then we saw that like random sell off once people realized how underwhelming. I mean, they technically beat earnings, but that very underwhelming earnings. And we saw that little sell off at 169.12, but I was wrong, and I must admit, I thought we were going to see a little bit more of a sell off the next day, maybe just by like $5 or $6, but I was wrong. Stock is continuing its uptrend and had a pretty good, decent day today, and it closed at 188.08 with a high of 189.50, which is only about roughly $9 and change off from its 52-week high. So yeah, I was wrong.
I mean, there are some stocks hurting in the market right now, and then there's some stocks that are just on an unending rally.
Yeah, it seems like tech stocks are ripping, and anything else is dipping.
Yeah. Well,
but I think.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was like current Apple price. It's analysts still are giving it room to grow. 240 high.
Yeah, the 240 high. Yeah.
It hasn't even reached the mid.
Yeah, the average is like
197.80.
Yeah, a hair under what is the 52-week high currently.
Yeah,
but tech stocks have been on a bit of a rip up. I mean, they were getting beat up for a while there during the summer. And now that we go further into the fall and towards the end of the year, they're kind of coming on the come up, I think, for two reasons. Is that the Fed has kind of paused interest rates. And now, as of recently, as a lot of people know, maybe some people, with the inflation has come down a little bit. They've floated down a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
So those numbers helped out. And then I guess today's, what was the PPI numbers, the employment? Those were pretty good. So the whole market, well, not the whole market, but from the majority of the market was very green. And tech stocks are up. Tesla's up today. Nvidia is up today. Apple, as we're talking about, was up today. I think now that there's slowly less fear in the market now, because now people are like, okay, inflation is coming down. Well, to what it was, it's always going to exist, but coming down from those crazy numbers to now somewhat, I mean, still above average, but better than before. And then, like I said, employment numbers are good. So there's a little fear leaving the market. And then the Fed just pausing interest rates in the last two meetings, I think, has helped out a lot. But there are still a lot of stocks that are at 52-week lows or just hovering above them. But I think we are going to get further into a bubble, if you ask me. I know this isn't really talking about Apple, but the overall market, and Apple does represent a lot of the market and a decent amount of the S&P 500. But I think we're going to go in a bit of a bubble because I think
here is your reminder. Send a check to the gig.
Where's Alexa?
They're listening to you.
Here is your reminder.
Alexa, off. She does that all the time.
I'm sure.
It goes off every morning at 7 in the morning. It's like, good morning. And then it like tells you the weather and everything that's going on. And I'm like, shut up. Anywho.
I might be a bit of a conspiracy theorist, but I'm not letting those into my space to just be listening to me. I don't even have Siri on my phone.
No.
No. I'm just one of those people that are like, it doesn't give me peace of mind to know that this machine's listening to me 24/7, even if it might still be in giving me the artificial, comfort of knowing that it's off.
Plus all your like searching already social medias.
Yeah.
Like
but anyway.
Anywho, Apple. Yeah, Apple. Well, as I was saying real quick, it's kind of un-Apple related, but someone one day, which I kind of agree like a little bit with her, is we talk about Kathy Wood a lot in this channel.
Mm-hmm.
And she came out and said recently the Fed is, I don't know exactly what she said, but not quote unquote, but basically the Fed is screwing us even more than we think, because she thinks a potential bubble or even bigger bubble is going to be created because the Fed is going to slow down the interest rate right now a lot, or at least pause. And then we're seeing these numbers come out, and then I think we're going to have like almost kind of like an artificial bull run or inflation of the market when everybody thinks we're at the end of the road, but we're not at the end of the road yet.
Yeah.
And then, but anywho, that's all speculative. Well,
I mean, that's not hard to believe because, the U.S. with the downgrades and the financial crisis,
and they are just kicking the can down the road when it comes to debt. I mean, the United States government has $1 trillion just in interest on their debt.
Mm-hmm.
But anywho, back to Apple, because we have a lot to talk about.
Yes.
Just to break up the doom and gloom and the numbers talk.
Actually, no, I have one article and then nip it in the bud. All right. So of course, Apple has a ton of money on the side for litigation. And if they don't, they should, but I'm pretty sure they do considering their status. But on the 9th of November, this article came out saying Apple agrees to pay $25 million in settlement with U.S. over hiring of immigrants. And it says Apple Inc. will pay $25 million to settle the claims by the U.S. Department of Justice that the company illegally favored immigrant workers over U.S. citizen and green card holders for certain jobs, the agency said on Thursday. The Justice Department, in a statement, said Apple did not recruit U.S. citizens or permanent residents for jobs that were eligible for a federal program allowing employers to sponsor immigrants for green cards in violation of federal law that bars discrimination based on citizenship. The settlement is the largest ever for the Justice Department involving claims of discrimination based on citizenship, the agency said. It requires Apple to pay $6.75 million in civil penalties and $18.25 million to an unspecified number of affected workers. Apple, in a statement, said it had unintentionally not been following the DOJ standard. And you know how I feel about these big companies and it's unintentional, Yeah. But hey, I guess somebody's got a
$25 million slap on the wrist.
Yeah. More bondage bracelets for the big boys.
You know what they should honestly do? if they really care that much, honestly, the government, they really care, they should start fining them percentage based.
Well, the government doesn't really care. They don't want Apple to fall
They don't
because
want to. I mean, you don't want to like crucify them, but like you gotta let them know, like especially these companies that are like trillions of dollars. I mean, come on, $25 million is a good amount of money, but really, that's the point. They have like $180 billion just like chilling. They're like, oh, that would be like if I like beat the hell out of someone in front of my house and the cops were like, hey, give us $40. And
I think it's a weird power struggle because let's say the US government decided to fine Google, I mean, another one, Apple, a lot of money, right? And so the US wants the Justice Department wants some of their money, but they also don't want to trigger Apple to being like, all right, I'm breaking up with you. You know what I mean? Because the US government really is banking on that money and all that tax money that they're supposedly paying.
This could never happen in the United States, but it'd be a good idea though when you do find these like really big companies for doing like whatever wrong and anything. But this will never happen in the United States, of course. This would only happen in like small little first world countries, maybe like Luxembourg and Finland and stuff, maybe Switzerland. But give the money to like towards education or something. Like, yay, we just took $50 million from Microsoft because they broke a rule. Let's give this to whatever.
You're living in a fantasy world. That's a whole level.
I'm living in Luxembourg, in Switzerland, and Finland. That's literally what like those types of countries do. They're like, oh, let's actually. I mean, we'll tax a little bit more, but let's actually give our citizens like help.
Yeah, if the country actually cared about its citizens, but hey, I'm not anti-US. I'm just saying, I'm just calling an apple and an orange when I see it. Okay.
The population's too big. That's why they can't just like. But anywho.
Yeah. So I have more here. Apple pays 36% of Safari search revenue. Sundar Pichai confirmed. So we know that Google, Alphabet is under that whole antitrust scrutiny from the DOJ, and I'm sure Apple. I'm sure Apple is also under scrutiny. But it says Alphabet. I don't know why. Alphabet CEO Sundar Pichai on Tuesday confirmed that Google pays 36% of Safari search revenue under the terms of a default search agreement that is core to the Justice Department's antitrust claims.
Yeah, for Safari.
So we do have a monopoly on the market. Yes, we do.
It's kind of funny though, because apparently that wasn't supposed to come out, but it did anyway. And then he confirmed after the fact.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm like, why wouldn't you even tell that anyways? Because think about it, right? They're in the antitrust trial. Why wouldn't you give out information like that? Like, hey, no, we are paying money because we're this, and this.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because I just looked it up. There are 135.97 million iPhone users in the United States, which is a 9.03% increase since 2022. So 135.97 million iPhone users.
The population of iPhone, 330 some odd million people.
Hold on.
330 million ish. It's like 330 something, I think.
331.9 million per 2021 census.
Yeah, it's probably a little higher now because of
babies being born, yes, but
post-COVID, and then more slowly we have been getting more immigration the last year or two, since COVID has been coming to an end. So we're probably like slightly higher than that. But anyways, 330 some odd million people and
135.97 million
130
iPhone users.
330 some odd million people.
Yeah.
So that's a little over a third. I don't know the exact percentage, but probably just somewhere around like 35, 38%. I don't know. That's just like a quick guesstimate. But
it's enough It's enough to prove that yes, Apple and Google have monopolies on the market. Well, more specifically, Google.
Amazon just got into recent trouble too with that for monopoly.
Mm-hmm.
Probably, I didn't read the article yet. Actually, we've never even talked about Amazon, which maybe we should do one episode on
Yeah,
Amazon.
I definitely would like to talk about Amazon. Everybody
Yeah,
Amazon.
they recently, I quickly saw it today as an article saying like how they're getting in trouble now too for monopoly law related laws. But I didn't read the article.
I mean, really, I mean, I think, shutdown agitated that. And there's you can get in trouble for having a monopoly, but there's no checks in place before that happens. So
yeah,
what do they want?
I'm pretty sure there's like a percentage of the overall sales in the industry, and if you like you are more like you hit a certain point, then you're considered monopoly.
Yeah.
So, like for example, if you had $100 billion in online sales in the United States, and 70% of it was Amazon, I guess. I mean, I don't know the exact laws, but I think it's something along those lines. Is like if you represent a certain amount, like a percentage or amount of the industry within the United States, then it's considered a monopoly.
Yeah.
I haven't read up on that shit in a while, but anywho.
Yeah, and then I have one more. U.S. lawmakers question Apple over Jon Stewart's China content. U.S. lawmakers asked Apple Inc. to explain the abrupt end of political comedian Jon Stewart's television show on its streaming service, according to a letter made public on Wednesday, citing concerns that content related to China was behind the cancellation. And then here's a quote. While companies have the right to determine what content is appropriate for their streaming service, the coercive tactics of a foreign power should not be directly or indirectly influencing these determinations. The Republican and Democratic leaders of the House of Representatives Select Committee on Competition with the Chinese Communist Party said in a letter to Apple Chief Executive Tim Cook. So it's funny because I really thought that the U.S. would have taken a different, like the opposite stance, like they're the ones that wanted to cancel Jon Stewart, but now it's like, hey, China, don't tread on my territory, on my property. Why do you get to say what our companies are doing, can and cannot do? I really think that like censorship in this country has skyrocketed in the last few years. Like you get canceled immediately if you say anything of any significance, slight or none, and including slight or none, and just the fact that the U.S. is like, don't mess with what's mine, China, and Apple, get in line. But if Apple decides to, break up with the country, that'd be interesting. I don't think their rights would be that protected as they do now, in terms of, how they're running markets and competition and like what they're doing to other companies. But
well, more and more Apple is doing business and adding a market share and competing with Chinese companies and other companies within China. Even more as of recently, like literally, actually, on the last episode, there was going to be an article that I talked about and I completely forgot. But I think Apple's playing a little bit more ball now with China because they're slowly realizing, well, we've been over here for a while. We can only grow so much more.
Diversify your income.
Yeah, we already have well over 100 million plus Americans with an iPhone in their hand. All right, where else would we grow? Well, they've been in China, but now they're going even more and more. And there was an article, it's a little old, it's maybe 3 weeks ago, but still somewhat recent. So, how Apple phone sales have kind of just been dropping off their phone revenue, which is very important to them because like I mentioned in the last episode, it's 50% of their sales. So it's very important to them until they can grow their other things like Apple TV and stuff. Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, a very powerful and influential man, the CEO of Apple. Think about it. He's the first guy that Apple went to after Steve Jobs passed away. And they were like, Tim Cook has the job. And ever since, he's been in that position. And he's done a pretty damn good job, I think. So he last month, at the end of the month, reportedly, just unannounced and unexpectedly, just got on his plane and flew to China, which is quote here by per Wall Street Journal that one of the company's largest markets and manufacturing hub as iPhone sales declined and government scrutiny intensifies. Cook visited meetings included with senior officials, visits to Apple stores, and a tour of a key supplier factory. Wall Street reported, and this was October 20th. So this is 3 weeks ago.
Mhm.
But that just goes to show you how important the Chinese market is to CEO Tim Cook and Apple, that this man just jumps on a plane and flies to China to meet with Chinese officials and to go to factories and to their biggest store in China because of iPhone sales have slowed down. Plus, they've been having a little bit problem with the Chinese government as of lately. So I think he wants to kind of listen to China a little bit more, even though it could aggravate the U.S. government. Realistically, what are they going to do?
I mean, I'm pretty sure.
Hit them with another $25 million fine?
I don't know. These companies don't really care about politics. They just care about their bottom line. And I'm
They
sure
have
Apple's no different.
Yep, and they have some of the best lawyers in the world, and they have an insane amount of money, and they have the market cap the size of France. So I don't think they're very concerned.
I was trying to Google like the percentage of iPhone users in the US, but I found in the world, and then I found this article saying that China is going to overtake US to become biggest iPhone market in Q2 of 2023. I mean, this is an old article from the 29th of August, but
think about
I
it.
thought they had that huge problem with maybe that was just during COVID. Like, didn't they have a whole problem with their manufacturing in China with their was it Apple? Where they're having riots in the factories?
Yeah, that was Apple. I think so.
There are more than 1.64 billion active iPhone users worldwide as of 2023. They account for 21.67% of the world's total smartphone using population. 97.7 million iPhone units were shipped and sold in the first 2 quarters of 2023, while 225.3 million units were sold in 2022.
So, yeah, I mean, what was that number again? You said Americans, iPhone users, 100 and I keep forgetting the number, 135 million?
135.97 million. And in the world, 21.67% of the world's total smartphone using population.
And China has a population of I think it's like 1.4, just over 1.4 billion.
So about almost 22% of the world's iPhone users use iPhone. So that's like a quarter. That's almost a quarter.
At 10% of the Chinese population, at 10%, if they get 10% of the Chinese population, I mean, of course, some of the population are children who aren't going to be able to use phones and maybe very elderly people who don't use cell phones. Right. But just to put this in perspective, if they get the equivalent of 10% of Chinese population to use an iPhone, that beats the American user iPhone by roughly 5 to 7 million people. Imagine if they got 20%. No wonder why Apple is like, yes, Matt, yes, China.
That little Freudian slip.
You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
They're like, I mean, come on, like realistically, they're like, I understand why the United States government is upset about the whole Jon Stewart thing. And I mean, like, I don't really like the whole like censorship thing and anything. I do pay my, what is it, $7 for Apple TV a month. So I don't want censorship for something for. So I agree with the US government, but if I was Apple, I probably wouldn't care.
They probably
because what are they going to do? Slap them on the wrist again?
Yeah, like honestly, yes. And some people might think that they're playing with fire, dealing with the Chinese government to the extent that they are, maybe even more. But I think they're using the U.S. as a safe haven. So if they can threaten the US with pullouts. They're empty threats, I think, because they're going to use US laws as a safe haven in case they get into trouble with China. You know what I'm saying? So unless they do like some sort of switch up and be like, we're in Germany now, which I doubt they would, because production.
If I was Apple and I needed to move to another country that was a developed country that was safe, where I know that I wouldn't have too many problems with the government, and it was like a big enough middle class.
Brazil? No.
Man, that's the big thing is population.
Mexico?
Maybe.
Mexico's becoming the manufacturing center of the world slowly. I don't feel like China's too happy about that, or maybe China doesn't feel threatened yet. But
China doesn't have manufacturing; they have plenty of it. Mexico is just for like this side of the world. I mean, realistically, like for example, the Gigafactory, the Tesla, it's going to supply all of Latin America and then Africa, and then parts of Western Europe.
Yeah, but they could do manufacturing there.
It's not built yet, but that's what it's going to supply up to, which is the same amount of cars. But if Mexico, which they have been, if Mexico can really continue to improve on how they have been, like their government, their middle class is moving up, the peso is growing stronger, Mexico is really getting their shit together. They have a really good president. Mexican people love the president. They usually hate their last like handful of presidents, but they really like this president. He's doing a lot for Mexico. So I think if they can continue on this path, maybe you'll see companies like that going to Mexico. Like it's becoming a safer country. The middle class is growing a lot. They have the population. They have well over 100 million people. I mean, you think of countries like, very good developed countries with nice, long, easy to get along governments, but a lot of those countries are like tiny.
Yeah.
Like countries I mentioned earlier, like Finland, Luxembourg, Switzerland. Yeah, those are great countries, but they also have the populations the size of like New York City.
Yeah.
So, if Mexico can continue on its path, then I could see other companies moving in, just like Tesla's Gigafactory. But Apple, who knows? Maybe one day they'll open something down there.
Maybe. Will you?
Especially if their middle class continues to grow like it has been over the last decade or so. But just other two quick things to talk about with Apple.
Just to let you know, we got about 9 minutes left.
Yeah, I'm wrapping right now with these last two cool little things. Anyone who is watching out there, for our viewers, Black Friday deal.
Yay for Black Friday.
Black Friday deal. If you want to get anybody your gift or get yourself a gift, if you're looking. I was reading on brain fart. I was reading on can't remember the name of the website.
Which one?
Engadget. Engadget. I've been following Engadget for years. Actually, Dave showed me Engadget probably like 16 years ago. But their latest and quote greatest iPad tab is on sale via Amazon for $500 as an early Black Friday deal. The MSRP is $600, and that is for the 64 gig version. But it is also another $100 off if you get the 256 gig, and that is with the Apple M1 chip for the Mac, for the iPad Air. So it's a pretty good deal. I mean, even for 64 gigs, I mean, unless you're saving a lot of photos on there, if you're just doing like basic stuff, that's pretty good. $500 for a nice iPad. Even $650 for the 256 gig, and you're getting an M1 chip. I mean, unless you're doing anything if you're not doing anything crazy, you're not doing anything like design or editing, you really don't need.
I mean, you could do a little designer editing. And the M1 chip is still pretty powerful. You can use like Procreate and some Adobe suites and stuff. So you still have a pretty strong iPad if you want to design. I wouldn't not get it, because it'd be a great like starter iPad especially for that price.
I mean, my iPad's pretty, I mean, it's not super old, but it's pretty old.
I wouldn't say it's super old in Apple land. That thing is archaic.
Mine?
Yeah.
Archaic, maybe, in the sense of technology, but it's not that old. It's 4
In
years
the
old.
in the sense of Apple, come
It
on.
still works perfectly. It doesn't
I
lag.
believe it.
It's great. I mean, I'm gonna get another one probably within the next year or so, but I'm using it for the $700 I spent at the time. So, yeah, there's that. And then also to real quick for any Apple iPhone 14 users out there, there is something I wanted to tell you guys if I can't find it. Because I like to quote things and I don't want to mess information up. But iPhone Apple 14 users, where are you? Oh, you get a free year
Oh, okay.
satellite emergency SOS. I mean, nothing too exciting, but it applies to iPhone users who activated their device in an eligible country or region before today, the 15th of November. But it announced it is granting iPhone 14 users an additional free year of its safety service free SOS via satellite. But yeah, nothing too exciting, but it says here eventually, when Apple decides to charge for the feature, it will provide another source of recurring revenue for the company's service businesses, which generated $22.31 billion in sales during Apple's fiscal fourth quarter. Apple still hasn't said how much it will cost, so they're going to start charging for those services. But as of now, if you have an Apple iPhone 14 by today or before, you are good for an additional free year.
Yeah, I
Nothing
mean,
too exciting, but some little things that Apple are doing, Black Friday deal, and then a free year of.
the service is nice. I have like before when they first announced it, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. That's a good service to have.
Mhm.
And then people were reporting in they were like just jolting it, and all of a sudden they were calling 911 or stuff like that. But it has helped save lives. I'm pretty sure we've covered it on a prior Apple episode, actually. But yeah, that's pretty cool of them. I wonder what prompted them to do that. Maybe they just wanted to do it out of the kindness of their heart. Or maybe they're like, hey, check out how
Holidays,
awesome this thing is. Maybe we can
yeah,
market this as a like, hey, check it out. Don't forget
yeah,
about
because
it.
they're
Please
going to
purchase.
exactly. Well, they're giving it free for now for iTunes 14, but
Yeah.
then like I mentioned, it's eventually going to start charging it moving forward because they made like just over $22 billion in one quarter from it from the services. But anywho, yeah, for the holidays coming up, get yourself an iPad or someone you love. And yeah, that's it. That's the Apple update. I
That's
figured
Apple.
we would stick some cool information, things that are going on with the company, and then maybe like little things cool, like if you do like Apple, not just the stock, you actually use the product. We will probably be doing that in future episodes. I think, at least in my opinion, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, why not? We cover
I,
the news.
I,
We cover some Apple
Apple
news anyway.
news.
So anything that we think is interesting, we cover. Same old.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm just moving forward. I think it's cool to break it up, have multiple things. It's all Apple related. But anyways, yeah, that's all I got. And I think we need to end.
Oh yeah, yeah, we should wrap up. I love staying here and chatting with you all, but it's been great. We've got to go. You know how Zoom is because I still haven't paid for it yet. But
Yeah, but Zoom had really great numbers last quarter after like quarters and quarters of really bad numbers. But anyways, that's a whole other episode.
yes.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for your time. Please like, share, and subscribe our ever-growing tiny little channel into maybe a medium-sized one day. And
Okay.
love you. Thank you for your time. Take care. Stay safe, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Bye.